I'll start again. So today we're covering a very interesting topic, one which is something that we get to use every day in our life, which is effective communication or ineffective communication, depending on uh, what we are able to achieve. And what I will be doing today is in 30 minutes, give you an overview of what communication is, what effective communication means, and then more importantly, give you some real life examples, hear from you on some of your experiences, so that we end the session today with an overall understanding of what effective communication means. This is in no way an exhaustive session. Effective communication itself can be taught for an entire day, and even more than that. And sometimes it can be a 3 week long course. So this is just an overview that I am covering. Let me give you a quick backgrounder of who I am. I'm Uday, part of the CLC Finishing School team. I have about 30 years experience in communication, marketing, sales, communication. This has been my passion all my life. And in this session, I also want to make sure that I give you some insights from my experience as I go along covering the various content that I have planned for you. So here is a very, I would say, an important statement by Brett Morrison, a very well-known American actor, that of all the life skills that you have, I think communication is perhaps the most empowering. So what this means is that yes, you need other life skills as well, but communication, if you are a good communicator, it will unlock unimaginable possibilities for you. So starting with that, I will also just dwell on the dictionary definition. This is from Oxford English Dictionary. What is communication? Communication is the imparting or exchanging of information by speaking, writing, or using some other medium like television in an effective mean of communication. So again, communication and effectiveness go hand in hand. That is something that I wanted to stress upon before I move in to the next slide. So what are the types of communication? And this I want to make it interactive discussion. There are two types, of course, one based on communication channels, and the other one based on on styles and purpose. And in communication, the one where you look at communication channels, you're looking at verbal and non-verbal. And in styles and purpose, you're looking at formal and informal. So I'd like to pause here and ask the people attending what some examples that you'd like to give, say for formal communication. Anybody would like to come forward and speak about some examples that they use in everyday life?
Maybe business emails.
Sorry?
Business emails we send
Yes,
to
correct.
stakeholders.
Correct. Any other examples of formal? Okay. Yes, business emails, proposals, and other stuff. What about uh, distance communication, which comes under oral? Any examples of that?
What we are having right now, this is also distance communication.
Exactly. I was waiting for that answer. So I think especially from the time of Corona, this form of distance communication has almost become second nature for us. We
Yes.
all thrived on face-to-face when before Corona, but this form of distance communication has, webinars, instant messaging, other stuff has really thrived and almost become second nature for all of us. And actually, Sukpal raised his hand. Archana, would you like to just take a look at what he has to say?
No. Actually, I have told him
Uh,
to ask the question only in the question time. If it's a
okay.
general one.
Okay.
So he has
Okay.
told yes. By mistake, I think yes, that hand has not gone down.
मैम हेलो
Hello,
Yeah.
हाँ.
Please go ahead, Sukpal.
सर ये बात कर रहा था कि हिंदी में नहीं आप बता सकते क्या इंग्लिश में ही होगा क्योंकि इंग्लिश थोड़ी
मैं आज तो मैं अंग्रेजी में ही बात करूंगा।
अच्छा तो मैं ट्राई करता हूँ सर समझने की क्योंकि मेरे को इतनी नहीं आती ना इंग्लिश
अच्छा, तो मैं धीरे बात करने की कोशिश करूंगा और इफेक्टिव कम्युनिकेशन करने के लिए सरल भाषा में बात करने की कोशिश करूंगा।
ठीक है सर थैंक यू सर
Okay, thank you. So there you go. That is one of the barriers actually that we'll talk
Yes.
about later. And we think that if we use fancy language, we'll get through better, but that's not necessarily true. And Sukpal just displayed that to us. And especially, I think one of the things that we face in India is that especially people who have been brought up in English language, schools in cities, we even think in English. And when we communicate to other people, say in regional language, we tend to translate from English to the regional language, and therefore not making any sense at all. So coming back to this section, there is also a very interesting part, and Sukpal, ये मैं आपको हिंदी में भी समझाऊंगा, which is non-verbal communication. Non-verbal communication, Sukpal, there's one part जो हम बोलते हैं, और दूसरा पार्ट ये होता है कि जो हम अपने बॉडी लैंग्वेज से, अपने जिस तरह हम बर्ताव कर रहे हैं, उससे हम कम्युनिकेट करते हैं. सो लेट मी गिव एन एग्जांपल. So you're listening to my presentation. So one of you could say, "Oh, great! This is a great presentation. I love it. This is the way you speak to me." And the other part is, "Yeah, this is a great presentation. I love it." So what difference do you guys see in it? Anybody would like to tell me?
The expressions are missing.
Exactly. So that's the non-verbal communication, and that's very important. So, and of course, it is challenging when you're speaking on the phone or when you are um, writing
Not
somebody. Please go ahead.
not face to face I said
Yeah, not face to face. Then it becomes a huge challenge. But when you're face to face, even on a video call, I think it's very important to give the right signals to the person who's on the other side. For example, a very important thing that we all do is to take the phone, right, in the middle of a call and start checking it like this. Now, how it's, I call it disrespectful, right? Some of us who are from the older generation would understand that. In fact, when I go to a customer meeting, if a customer even picks up the phone or looks around, I just stop presenting. So when you're the recipient, when somebody is talking to you, these small things make a big difference in the outcome of the conversation you're having, right? You have to pursue something called active listening. You have to lean forward, make eye contact, and these are non-verbal, communication techniques that you can use to actually make a positive impact. And similarly, when you are communicating something to somebody, you need to do that. Like, for example, right now I am presenting. I am making sure that I'm not leaning back. I'm sitting straight. I am looking, trying to make eye contact with you as much as I can through a screen, and communicating to you. Similarly, in written, for example, there is a written is great because you have a concrete way of communicating to somebody. There's no confusion, but written tends to be harsher, and therefore how you word it is very important. So is it formal or informal is a very important decision you need to make. So if you are speaking to your colleague, maybe an informal tone is what you need to take. But if you are talking to somebody who's a senior to you, to your professor, to your teacher, or to your boss, maybe you need to be more formal, depending on the, of course, the culture of the organization. But overall, what I have seen in my experiences, when in doubt, be a little more formal. Then you will not have any some misunderstanding, right? And that is an important input I wanted to give you. And in distance, I want to draw your attention to a very important point. You need to make sure that you just don't rattle off and just keep speaking. You need to pause and ask the audience whether they're following you. The way I paused just now and asked you a few questions, that's a good way of finding out whether the audience is with you. And if they are not, then you know that you need to alter it. So for example, I got an input that I need to also consider speaking in Hindi. So now I'm going to modify, hopefully I'm able to modify as much as possible so that everybody is with me through the entire presentation. So that's another very important element, the formal and informal, and in distance, making sure that one of the important parts in distance is people get bored very easily. So typically what I've done is I always kept the meetings very short. And then when even in that short meeting, making sure that you're getting to the point straight away, and making sure that the understanding is kind of reconfirmed, and then you're closing the meeting, right, with a summary. That if you follow a structure, then you'll find that these meetings, the challenges that are faced by distance are also overcome. Face-to-face, of course, is the most effective. But even there, your body language, the way you speak, how engaged you keep the person across the table, these are going to make a huge impact in the effectiveness of your communication. Any questions or comments at this juncture?
Already sent one in the chat box.
No, you can ask it again to him. He will make it.
Hasn't you? Could you repeat what you said about when in doubt, what to do?
Sorry?
Could you
When
repeat?
in
You
doubt.
mentioned something about when in doubt, what approach one should take. Could you repeat that?
Sure. So basically, what your question was, if you're when you in distance communication, if you're wondering whether you've really gotten across to the audience, right? Is that your question?
No, what I said was that you said that it's very important to maintain decorum, particularly in formal communication.
Formal and informal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Formal
Sure.
communication. Yeah.
Sure. So basically, what I have experienced in life is that you don't know what the other person on the other side is used to, right? And what is especially many times you don't know the position of authority and the decision making, what role they play in the decision making. So you would rather be safe and follow a slightly more formal tone, especially when you don't know what the person's seniority is, what the person's role is in, say, the decision making. Say you're applying to a college, right? And you're sending an email to one of the deans of your program, who's probably going to decide on how much scholarship you're going to get. You can't just write, "Hey, David," right? It might not work. So you start with, and then once the conversation starts and David warms up to you, then maybe you can switch to an informal tone. So typically, when you start the conversation, you tend to it's better to be a little more formal and then move on. This I'm talking in term when you don't know the person. When you know the person well, of course, you can, they'll find it a little strange that you're talking to that person as Mr. or something. Then you can straight away go in a informal tone. Yeah. Okay, moving on.
Saim, actually, he wants to ask something.
Please
Yes,
go.
ma'am. Ma'am, am I audible?
Yes,
Yes,
you're
you
on.
got it.
Okay. Good morning, sir.
Good.
Sir, as you have rightly pointed out that non-verbal communication is also important even in distance learning, right? So I'll give you an example. In this situation we are right now in. You're the communicator, and I have always believed that communication is a two-way street. For a
Correct.
person to speak, the other person also has to practice active listening, right? So
Correct.
let's say in this meeting that we are right now, no one is actually relaying this information that someone is actually listening to you. Okay, that you're the communicator and you're speaking very flawlessly, like you're giving non-verbal communications as well, and you're speaking good words as well, but you're not able to sense that the person on the other side of the screen is listening to you properly. So is there some effective strategy which you have adopted to sense or realize that people are there, or that you can make them come out of their shells in that way?
You will see some of them in practice right now in the latest slides. But the most effective way I have always followed is engaging the audience, right? So what I mean by that is, like right now, I can only see the active window, so I can't see all the participants. So I don't. You're right. I really can't gauge who all are actually listening to me. So what I do is I put in checkpoints, right? What we call as gamifying it. So even a serious presentation, you keep putting points where you ask for the audience input. And rather than wait for the end and say, I'll ask you questions at the end. I mean, you can ask me questions at the end. I prefer to try and make it a dialogue. It's not all, it's a little challenging because you sometimes tend to lose time and not able to get to, say, the end objective of your presentation. But on the flip side, you would have whatever points you got through to the audience, at least that will go away cemented in their mind. So I hope I'm answering your question. The second thing in face-to-face presentation, what I do is I tend to move around. I don't stand in one place. So if I'm on stage, I'll get down from the stage, I'll walk amongst the audience. And that actually many times will kind of wake people up, especially students like you. And you go to the back of the room and speak. And in face-to-face meetings, what I will do is I will ask, I will include the room. So there are 5 people in the room, and I'm, say, presenting to them. I will say, Mr. Sunil, what do you think about this point? Do you think that that makes sense? Right? So look at the most bored person in the room and put him on a little bit of a spot. And then he'll wake up, and because he's so embarrassed, he'll agree. And then you have one person in the room who is with you now, right? And then his boss is glaring at him, and after that he's not going to sleep, right? So this what you brought out is a very important challenge for any communicator. And today, with all the devices, it's getting more and more challenging. All of us have like 30-second attention spans. We can't think beyond a reel, and it's going to get tougher and tougher for your generation, even more so. You have to get really good at this to be successful going forward. Okay.
Thank you,
So
sir.
yeah, I'll move on. So here's a checkpoint for all of you guys. So here are 4 visuals that I put here, and I need you to tell me the type of verbal communication this is. And I have alluded to it in whatever I have said so far, but go ahead, take a shot. Aarti, you can't.
No
So,
cheat.
yeah. So let's start with the first one, which is the TED Talk guy. What kind of verbal communication is that?
It is oral communication.
Okay. And in oral communication, what is it?
It's a face-to-face.
Face to face. Then third part. What?
Third part is eye contact is there,
Hmm.
and the body language, the eye contact, and connection is happening there between the speaker and the audience. And
Okay.
the speaker is also able to gauge the audience responses to whatever he's telling.
Mhm.
And so accordingly, he can make changes on the spot, and then, try to improvise depending upon the situation and the kind of response that he's getting. He can also change what he's trying to say. What is it that is interesting the audience? Which part of his talk perhaps is holding their attention more? All
Okay.
those things, he can make out and make modifications and be very comfortable. And the audience clapping for him, or sniggering, whatever may be the response, at least he knows where he's going and what changes he can make there itself and move on.
Yes. And also, I think an important part is this is example of public speaking.
Yes.
So this is TED Talk.
Yes.
Sayam, what about this? The one where you can see 2 people, bottom left.
I think that's a sort of informal communication that's happening, but it happens within ourselves. The
It might
thoughts
look to
we
you like chugli karna, right? In Hindi. No, actually, I'll cover that later. But this, I do it. I am raising my hand. I always talk to myself all the time. Does everybody do that? Raise your hand.
Yes.
Right? So that
Loud
is also
or in the mind? You are asking loud or in the
loud
mind?
also. I speak to
Loud.
myself in the mirror.
Oh,
Anybody
okay.
else? So you're like,
Not
Uday,
much.
you can do it. Uday, come on, right? Those kind of things. Or Uday, how could you be so stupid? You talk to yourself, right? Or sometimes in your mind as well, right? Or you're walking on the road, you're thinking through the strategy for the meeting, those kind of things. Or you're going into the exam, you're trying to remember all the formulae, right? Different. Oh, you're going for an interview, and then you're like, okay, this is an important one. I need to do it. I need to do it. Is everything there? Look at my folders, right? So this is that's also a type of communication, right? And that can be a positive thing and a negative thing. If you allow the voice in your head to pull you down, then it becomes something which will work against you. If you allow this voice in your head to motivate you, then it can go ahead. So that is, interestingly, that's also a type of communication. This one, which is top right, what is that called typically? This is very common in all the organizations, right? What is it called?
Interactive session,
Yes,
discussion.
group
group
discussion.
discussion. That's
Formal
another
meeting,
name.
yeah.
And the most important thing which all government bodies do is meeting.
Meetings, yes.
Meeting, right? So let's call a meeting. And even in private, I have attended meetings to plan for a meeting. Right? We we even do insane things like that. And what about this one? Bottom right part. What is the example of this?
Appraisal meeting.
Yeah, good one. That's an example, very good example. This is a one-on-one meeting, which is one-to-one, a one-on-one, right? A one-on-one meeting. So these are some examples of verbal communication. Let me all of you got all of that right. The one which is inside your head is called intrapersonal communication.
Yeah.
And the one-on-one with somebody else is called interpersonal communication. And the TED talk that you saw is called public communication. And the meetings are also called small group communication. Okay. Any inputs or any thoughts on this before I move on? Okay. So,
Sir.
yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead. Hey. Hi, Ziad.
Hi, sir.
Yeah.
My doubt is that, like, can you repeat this, like, types of verbal communication? This one?
This one? The one I'm on.
Yes.
Okay. So the one,
Yes.
so the public communication is what I gave the example of the TED Talk. TED Talk is public communication. The one with the person with the voice inside his head is called intrapersonal communication. When people are talking to each other, they're called interpersonal communication. Like if I and you have a phone call, it is called interpersonal communication. And if you, me, Sayam, and Aarti sit in a room and meet, right? That is an example of a small group communication. Did you
Yes,
understand?
that's clear. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, one more quiz. So a lot of quizzes so that I'll make sure that nobody sleeps here. This is written communication, right? So what I have done is I put some pictures and again I'm going to ask you questions. So the first picture here.
The PPT presentation,
Yeah.
some
Yes.
kind of a presentation is
Correct. A PPT presentation. Correct. What about this left one, bottom left? That's
This
my
is
favorite.
WhatsApp
WhatsApp presentation. What about
messaging.
this? Huh?
No.
Okay. Yeah. And then what about this one? What is this icon symbolize?
Mail.
Email.
Email. Yeah, email.
Correct. What is this guy doing?
Taking notes.
Okay. There. He's preparing the notes based on whatever.
What is he doing? What is the action?
Writing down.
Correct.
Jotting down.
Written.
Notepad.
Yeah. Correct.
Making
Notepad,
points.
written communication.
Written communication.
Zayed, you give this one. What is this guy submitting to his professor?
It's a form of report.
Yeah, exactly. Great. I have a very smart class.
Please repeat it. I didn't hear to what he told.
Zayed, so the last one is he's submitting a report.
Report.
So exactly, and these are the types of written communication. Emails was shown there. DMs. So what I've done is DMs is direct messages. So WhatsApp is an example of direct messages. Then you have Instagram direct message. Then you have, what else do you have? Teams direct message. You have all these different platforms, right? And then you do instant messaging in that. That's a very huge part of our communication. And that is also a part where a lot of miscommunication happens these days. And a lot of misunderstanding happens, especially because, people use WhatsApp for everything. People use WhatsApp for business. People use WhatsApp for sending the resume. People, replace, starting from my generation, going into, the younger generation. DMs have become a replacement for speaking. So one of the most important things I wanted to share is, okay, we have all these written communication techniques, but don't use written communication as a crutch. What I mean by that is, this should not become what you could actually communicate face to face or communicate through speech. You should not replace that with short messages. Short messages should be in addition to speaking to the person. So if you need to speak to your professor, go meet that professor ideally. If not, go and at least call that professor up, and then follow it up with an email. DMs are mostly, it should be used only for things like, I'm on my way, I've sent you the proposal, those kind of things, right? Don't try to primarily communicate through direct messaging, right? Unless you're talking to your friends and stuff like that, or planning logistics for something, right? Otherwise, try to structure your communication and send it through email, follow it up with a phone call or a face-to-face meeting. Only then you will find that you're getting better results for what you want to convey to your audience. Anybody heard of blogs and posts? So could you explain to all of us what they are?
Explanation can come better from you. I can't explain.
Okay.
Okay.
So many of us, what we do is,
Yeah, 1 minute, Uday. Revati
Yeah.
wants to talk.
Okay.
sure.
From my side, since I belong to the technical background, I read blogs and posts.
Mhm.
They are mostly related to any particular topic that the writer would describe. Say, I wanted to install a software, how it has to be installed, what are the issues it could face. So one particular topic and it's related negative or positives, whatever. I'm just telling from the technical side. There could be other blog posts on social issues as well. They would discuss in detail along both the sides, like pros and cons. At the same time, you could also read some blogs on travel. If someone travels to some locations, they would write a blog post, and that would detail on how they started the travel plan until they reach the destination. How did they enjoy? What are the facilities and all available? So all these things would be discussed in a single blog post. So that's what I have mostly come across blogs and posts.
Also, this very dangerous thing called Twitter posts and Instagram posts. So one of the things that I want to share with all of you is, the internet has a very long memory. Okay, it never forgets. So think twice before you post something. When somebody does a job interview, they will do, first thing they do is go online and search. So don't go and, put some, crazy comment on somebody's photo, or put some really, some embarrassing stuff, which you might not be able to, explain later on. So be very careful with your social profile. Especially when you're nearing your employment age.
And marriage age.
Huh?
Marriage also.
Or marriage.
I've seen it. I have people put all kinds of pictures before
Yes.
marriage, and
Yeah.
when they are just going to settle their a particular alliance, immediately they'll start deleting everything from the Twitter and
Yeah,
Instagram and
but
all that.
that's a
Pictures.
important thing I would like to give, because I have seen people not get job offers because HR did a search
On the
and
Twitter,
on
Instagram.
not LinkedIn but on Twitter and Instagram, and they had a kind of a little bit so I know
Negative.
it's fair, but so therefore, but on the flip side, it's also an opportunity, right? So there is a professional side of you, and then there's a personal side of you. The personal side of you can actually help the professional side of you. So an example that I can give is, if you're pursuing a hobby, say you're a good photographer, or you love music. If your personal posts are speaking about your love for music or literature or photography or sports or anything, or hiking, or you're blogging about, as Revati said, you're blogging about your travel, that actually is seen as a positive thing by both the institutions and by anybody, right, who wants to engage with you. And one simple thing, I don't meet anybody till I do a web search about that person. And that is something that everybody does these days, especially in the business domain, right? And even in personal, I'm sure, once you meet somebody, you'll go and search for that person in Insta. You might even start stalking that person. That's a different matter. But the point I want to make is, this is also a part of communication. And you can leverage that to your advantage by thinking it through. And to a certain, I'm not saying you be fake, but let it bring out who you really are, not not a trend, or not going with somebody else's thought process. Okay, any thoughts or questions here?
Okay, I
I
just
have one
wanted to
point.
bring.
Revati, go
Yes,
ahead.
okay. I just wanted to just people make an attention. Like, have anyone read about the Reddit post and its related things? Like recent news, one guy from Lehigh University actually. This was a news actually.
Okay.
The guy who faked all his academic qualifications and he produced a death certificate, though his father was alive.
Wow.
That guy wrote a Reddit post. He got admitted. Before that, he got admitted to, he got the admission to Lehigh University at US with all these fake documents. And later on, while he was pursuing his education, he wrote a Reddit post, and that caught the attention of the moderator of the particular platform, Reddit platform. And that moderator brought it to the attention of the university. And so since they gave the scholarship based on his financial situation or family situation, the Lehigh University took an investigation on him, and since they gave full scholarship, they warned him, and he was about to be jailed for around 20 years in US. Rather, the university gave him one kind of what's that? Some kind of uh, I don't have the word to say. Like maybe they just gave him a chance so that he returned to India instead of being jailed in US. Whatever the amount paid for the scholarship, they just said that
clemency.
this came into notice because he wrote the blog post after pursuing
Exactly.
education. He wrote he just maybe in kind of boasting or something, he just went and told that I created all these fake documents and got the admission to the Lehigh University. Like that, he just wrote. He just came up. He took his own thing on his
Exactly.
on. That's how it went, right? So at one point of time, it is. Right, and how will we get to know when such kind of things happen?
So you
That
have
is
to be
when
very
we.
careful. That's exactly the point I'm making.
Sir, I have one point to add. Can I just add? Yeah.
Sure, please go.
See, when we talk about effective communication, I think we also need to have a little bit of EQ also, apart from IQ and all that, a little bit of EQ to really understand, what is it that when we are having face-to-face communication, you can see the body language. If you are able to interpret the emotions that they are exhibiting on their face and accordingly change, there can be irritation on the face, there can be anger on the face, there can be boredom on the face, or there can be just plain blank look on the face, So I think even that also is important in effective communication.
So that's exactly the point I was going to make in my next slide.
Today, just 1 minute, Mr.
Yeah.
Asad has raised his hand from long
Yeah,
time.
we are actually at 45. So yeah. Is everybody okay to continue for another
Please
5
go
minutes?
ahead. Please go ahead. Please go
Please,
ahead.
please. Go
All
ahead.
right.
Go ahead.
Good.
All right. Go ahead, Asad.
No, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Okay. All right. So the communication process is something that I want, is where the EQ part also comes in. So don't get very perturbed by the diagram per se. It's very simple. You are the center, right? So you are the person who needs to say, talk to somebody. First of all, you need to understand who you're talking to, right? And then understand how you can communicate to that person. I'll give you a very simple example. You'll immediately get it. Say, there is a 2-year-old kid, and the kid is walking towards a plug point, about to put their finger into the plug. Now, you can't use your sophisticated language and say, hey, there's current flowing in the plug. Please don't go and do near that. What will you do? You'll pull that kid and probably whack that kid, so that the kid understands, go near plug, whack on the back, right? It'll cry and all that. So that is one level of communication. When the kid is 10 years old, if the kid is doing the same thing again, then you can explain current, what it will do. At 440, you will get incinerated, right? So that is effective communication, right? So you decide on what is the message. So the message is stay away from the plug point. But depending on the audience, you're changing the way you're communicating. There can't be a better way than this, right? And the channel is the method that you use. And the decoding is whether the kid understood it or not, or the grown-up understood it or not, how they interpret it. Now, decode, one of the things about decode is also sometimes people, one of the challenges, and I'll talk about it briefly in the next slide, is that people will misinterpret you. For example, the parent, I'm giving a parent and child example. The parent will say, don't go out after 10 o'clock. So the teenage child will think, oh, this parent is trying to curtail my freedom. Whereas the parent might be worrying about the safety of the kid, right? So there's a clear gap in communication, right? Whereas if the parent had used a slightly more empathetic approach, explained what they are, where they come from, or probably have had a quick dialogue, right? So that is the choosing the message, taking the message and choosing the right channel for communication. The other part is, very important part is, you just don't communicate and forget about it. You need to make sure you pause and see how your message has been received. Is the kid throwing a tantrum, for example, and still trying to put their finger in the plug point? Is the teenager still, wanting to go out or storming out of? Then your communication is not effective. Then you need to rethink how you can actually change your communication style to overcome the barriers. So all these challenges that I was talking of are called communication barriers. Things that don't allow for your message to reach the receiver. Is that clear? I know this sound looks very complex, but I'll try to make it simple. Just remember, yeah, go ahead, please. Sayam.
Yes, sir, like you said, that there is a risk of being misinterpreted, right? And I'll share an example. I've just started my master's in MBA. So yesterday I was intermingling with a group of people, students that were there, and one of them was a good friend of mine from before. We had gone to the same higher secondary school, so there was a little comfort there, comfort zone with him. So after the like most of our periods, at the end of the day, when the teacher was not there, I was joking around with them, and like people, a group of friends do. So in that moment, I made a joke, which was at that moment I thought completely harmless, because I wasn't putting him on the spot or anything such as that. But he had interpreted it in such a way that I was making a fool out of him. Even though, after reflecting back, I realized that no, I have done nothing of that sort. So after that, he got a bit angry, and he stepped a bit back in that communication. You can read that body language, right? So what I want to ask is one way is how we can understand, right, or something before or a little bit after, like what we can do in
Yeah,
that moment.
this is a very common thing. One of the things that I have learned over time, and the older attendees in this call will is you never take anybody for granted, even if he's your best friend, right? And especially your best friend will expect you to know his or her pain points or sensitive points, and he or she will expect you to back him in public. So what I would say is, when you want to pull his leg, do that in private. Never. So this is more not a communication issue. This is more of understanding the context where you are, right? So you probably missed the where. How you did it might not be an issue. Where you did it is the issue. And that is why he then misinterpreted it, that you're trying to put him down. So the same leg pulling, if you had done it 101, he would have laughed at it. So that where is a very important thing out here while you're encoding, apart from how. So the joke is not a bad thing to do, but where you do it, right? Okay, so we are already 5 minutes up, but I would like to quickly cover the barriers of communication. I will not have time to go deep into it, but some of the things that important ones are language. So are you speaking in the right language? For example, today we had that challenge, English and Hindi. Then discomfort with the topic. How comfortable are you with the topic? For example, I have been doing this presentation skills training for 30 years, but I've been preparing for this for almost 15 days and never take it for granted. And I got my slides reviewed even yesterday, and I kept working on it. So never, my input as a slightly more experienced person is never take anything for granted. Work, rework, keep, even before sending an email, review it multiple times, because once a communication has gone out, you can't retract it. and the damage is done. So you're better safe than sorry. I'm not saying analysis paralysis, but and be very comfortable with your topic, have enough details ready, then automatically you'll get confidence in presenting whatever you want to present. And you'll come across and be able to make better impact. Then, there are some things that you need to take care of, which is things like too many questions. So there are, especially in public presentations, there are these guys who come in just to ask questions, right? So of course you need to be a good guy, but you also need to reach a particular goal. For example, the way I've been now, this is the last slide. So I have somehow I have gone I've gone a little late. So ideally that should not have happened. I should have stuck to 45 minutes. But so there is a kind of a balance you need to make in terms of how many questions that you will actually encourage, and are those questions actually derailing your presentation, or your communication. So make sure that if there are people who are there just to kind of put a spoke in your in your wheel, make sure that you're dealing with those people and making sure that you continue and complete your presentation effectively. And the time is the challenge that you typically have. You never have the luxury of having unending time. Now, as I was saying, that meetings have now become 30-minute meetings now, mostly, and you have to communicate whatever you need to in short time. Even now, I'm still at 30 years. I'm still struggling with that. That is a constant thing that you all should work on. So with that, I'd like to conclude today's presentation. Any last questions? Here, I just wanted to give another example, which is of culture. And this is my Korea team example. So when I was at Intel, I had a very large team, Korean team, and they never told me when things were going wrong. And I would only find out after things went wrong. And all my meetings were like, oh, everything is going perfectly fine. And so then I had to devise ways of finding out when things are going wrong and give them ways of communicating that back to me. So I just wanted to give that culture example. Sorry, sir, you were saying something.
Yeah, one question, Uday. This Ziyad had asked in the group.
Okay.
Just you can answer that one. In interview, is making grammatical mistakes an issue?
Yes. So one thing I wanted to say is nobody is expecting you to be, some kind of a Shashi Tharoor, right? You're using fancy words and anything like that. But whatever you speak with confidence, and you speak, if you can't handle complicated language, use simple language. And if it's a technical interview, I don't think they'll expect you to be great in English. But little bit, do brush up your language. It does look a little unprofessional to, mix Hindi and English and all that. It doesn't look good. Stick to one language. And so I would advise you to actually work on your little bit, spoken English if you think you're weak on that, because it does make an impact.
I have a point, sir. I have a point.
Yes.
Sir, can I say something?
Yes, please go ahead.
Because I happen to be an English teacher. So I've taught for 34 years in a college, and I've also taught for the evening college students and students coming from the first generation. So you know how it will be there. Then
Yes.
their English. My suggestion to the young people here is not to get intimidated by the language. Not to get intimidated by the English language. It is a foreign language that has been imposed on us. And it is not that we have to be fluent in that language. What we need to do is, since English has become the global language of opportunities and language of marketing, sales, you name it, it has become like that. But I'm sure in India, at least, people here know from what kind of backgrounds we come. and we may be very good at the subject, very good at our job. We may have all those. We may be hardworking, perseverant, all determination, everything. So while you are talking in English, try to make it as simple as possible. And also, if they are able to get from your words that you are passionate, you are hardworking, you are willing to learn the job, you are willing to take things forward in your life, those things also matter, you know. So
Correct.
you can also try to impress them with that this foreign language should not become a hindrance for not getting a job. Neither
Correct.
should it make you feel, you know, very low about it. Arey Baba, you will be so good at your job. You have all the potential. You have all the pluses with you. Why allow a job language to come in between you and getting a good job or moving ahead in your life? Don't get so panicky and worked up about the English language. Just watch some of the videos on spoken English, which is there on the this one, you know, WhatsApp, in some groups and all, and try to, you know, write down what is it that you want to say in the interview. Plan it in such a way that you don't give an opportunity for them to make an issue about your language and, you know, bypass you in giving the job. In fact, if you ask me frankly, I have valued papers for children for 30 years at least. And I have come across a lot of children writing there telling us, please pass us in this language, because if we don't pass in English, we won't get our degree certificate. And as an English teacher, I would feel very bad. And we all used to feel that why don't we have a separate textbook for rural children, which is simple version of it, rather than, you know, this, we have simplified the textbook, but even then our rural children are handicapped because of this language. Otherwise, they do have the capacity to do well in their life, in their profession.
Yeah, Aarti,
Oh,
there's a
I
hand
think
raised. Yeah.
it's answered.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uday,
Sorry, I got carried away because
Yeah.
And Mrs. Madhvi,
Thank you.
she was the principal. So
Yeah, I know.
the advice has
I
to
can
be
make
taken
out. I can
very
make out. Yeah.
seriously.
Yeah.
Uday, I just
Asad,
wanted to.
you can just ask them.
I just wanted to mention something about your comment on DMs. You said it's better not to use them, particularly when you are having a formal communication with a senior person. No, I have a slightly different take on that. I
Okay.
have successfully experienced approaching people whom I don't know and they are in position of power
Mhm.
to establish communication with them, because sending a mail directly or making a call, sometimes people feel uncomfortable. Who is this man? Why
No,
is he
that is
calling me?
so that is
No.
different. When I say DM, I mean WhatsApp message.
I'm talking of WhatsApp only. Over
Okay,
WhatsApp,
okay.
I have sent messages to people apologizing for approaching them like this,
Mhm.
and then introducing myself and saying what is it that I want.
Mm.
And it has worked. So its only thing is that one has to be careful as to how you are
Correct,
communicating.
correct,
But
exactly.
making a phone call directly, some people get offended.
Correct, correct. No,
Who
I
is
mean,
this man
so
who's
you have
calling
to
me?
approach, that's what I meant, that you have to be careful. You can't go informal. You have to start with the formal thing, and then, like in LinkedIn, you do the LinkedIn reach out, right? So you have to give them the context. And typically you have to share your profile as well so that they know who you are. And then, you know, they should have some amount of willingness to talk to you. They should see some gain out of talking to you. Then it makes sense. Okay. I think Aarti, we're at the top of the hour.
Yeah.
What I'd like to give me a minute. I'd like to leave you with this Calendly link. We will share it on chat as well, on the WhatsApp chat. So please go ahead and fix a session with us. We'd love to actually have all of you. This is a 45-minute complimentary session, a mentoring session, and you know, with our mentor Archana, and she will actually help understand what your goals are, career goals are, and she'll give you inputs on how you need to move forward, where you need to head, and stuff like that. So we'll share the calendar link in the WhatsApp chat. Please go ahead and choose your time slot and go ahead and speak with her. And if you have any questions, further questions, do you know, type it out in the WhatsApp chat. I will make sure that I'll get back to you guys offline with any resources that I want to share. Okay. Thanks a lot, everybody.
Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you, Aarti.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
Uday, thanks a lot. It was very interesting. With great difficulty, I'm just going to stop it now. So,
Yeah.
because of the time restrictions, otherwise
Yeah.
would have loved to listen to some more of your experience and what you wanted to tell about communication. So, thanks a lot, everybody who all participated today. Thanks a lot, and be coming every week. See you all soon every week.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Bye bye.
Thank you
Well
very much,
done.
Thank
sir.
you.
Really
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you.
Very